Got a good one for you. I want to talk about really some economic stuff. Certainly, there's lessons to be had right here with getting your material out if you are trying to do some form of art or entertainment, building yourself a customer base, a fan base, things not to do. There's so many lessons that we can take from this in terms of what it is that I'm going to show you. Now, with that being said, before I actually get going, let me pull this down because, again, this is a good one. So, my argument has been made with Marvel and DC. They did themselves in, let's be fair, over the years, emphasizing things that really didn't matter, putting out books that really didn't matter just because they were trying to. It was like more of a quantity more than quality thing. You know how I feel about the multiversal aspects and it being nearly impossible to keep up with certain characters. And really what has happened with the industry, like let's say with the big two in terms of their like a more expansive universe, is that they have not really given people reasons to remain invested in it, and they've catered to an audience of non-buyers. So I think this is arguably why the comics themselves aren't as lucrative as they had been in previous years. And unless you are going to, let's say, sell merchandise based on that character, or you're going to do a movie or something of that nature. And that's the audience that they went all in on. It's worked for them in some cases when you consider the blockbuster movies and what have you. But it's this weird kind of culture that they've created where they have a bunch of non-supporters, non-fans that will only refer to the source material if they think that it benefits whatever kind of argument as it pertains to like social justice or something of that nature. That's the only time they will really refer to it, even if they're wrong. And what happens there is that they tell on themselves. I've made this argument many times before. A lot of these guys, especially these stan accounts that build accounts surrounding certain characters or like the live action version of certain characters, they do not actually buy or are fans of this material. They're not. That is not my opinion. That is simply what it is. In the fray, maybe a couple of them actually are, but for the most part, these guys like the ideas of these certain types of characters, and they don't actually support this material. So the conversation, let me show you guys right here, of what I'm about to show you is talking about the whole Jessica Drew race swap, if you will, that's happening in that whole Spider-Verse. This is where all of this kind of spawned from, right? And what happened is that this person ended up showing a version of Jessica Drew right here, claiming that this version of Jessica Drew was black. Now, I said, and this is specifically from this version of Jessica Drew, and I said, I knew from the get-go, this person does not actually like this material and was sharing out, as they often do. It'll be maybe in some Reddit form, and then they will share that version of the picture all around, and you'll see them share the same thing, meaning that they're not grabbing it themselves. They just saw somebody else share it, and they're like, ooh, this makes my case, so I'm going to share it. And so they're talking about this Age of X universe deal, and they're saying that this character is it was this alternate universe Jessica Drew. But the character's not black. I mean, she has her hair in a bun. She kind of shows you that. Not in hair texture, facial features, certainly in skin tone, can't even pass for a light-skinned black person. But this version of Jessica Drew doesn't even talk in this book, which I've read it. Doesn't talk and is more of like this mysterious kind of assassin. So obviously she's like in the background of a lot of the shots and kind of shadowy. That's purposeful, obviously, considering the character in that Age of X universe. So I went and grabbed some more screenshots to show like more context. Like, dude, as you can see, like she's not black. You can see her comparable to some of the other white characters that are in certainly the story, and you could see at best she may be a little more tan than some of them, but at best that's all you could say. But she's not a black woman per se. If I go to myself real quick, let me do this real quick and just show you guys really some good context. Like this one was something, this is a screenshot that I grabbed, and you can see her right here. It's from the same book, same colorist, that you could see, well, the character isn't at all black. In fact, the same colorist in the same book. Let me see if I can find that real quick, which I shared. Here is a black character in the book by the same colorist, obviously, and you can see that this is what the character would look like if they were black. And that's not what this character is at all. Nonetheless, that person was wrong. I knew they were wrong, but it was just a little bit of bait. I'll say that because I asked for, hey, give me the book and page count of what it is that you're talking about. The person didn't know it. They took a little bit to try to find it. And because they actually aren't readers or likers of this material, I'm going to show you, this is what they came up with, right? To try to get the full context of that scene. Now look at this. This is from this is a pirated version of the comic. This person that owns this comic, they don't even do as much as have the unlimited, Marvel Unlimited version of it, where they can at least say that they paid for it. I know that it may be a little frustrating for some of you, because it definitely, I guess I'm a little rough around the edges, right? So when I say something and I'm right about something, it's like, God dang it, that Eric July is always right. And they get so aggravated because it's like I'm making arguments that are maybe against what where they stand. So they don't like the fact that their ideological enemy is correct about anything. But I know markets if I know nothing else. I know business if I know nothing else. And it's a different era that we live in with the age of connectivity, okay? And you have to be able to gauge the market in order to be successful in it. You have to. It's not the same as it had been before. There are certain things that people pick up on that think is valuable market information, and it's not. Twitter, in a lot of cases, is like that. It can be used to your advantage. But if you read that data, let's say that the wrong way, you could trick yourselves into believing things like these folks that pretend to like this material and only refer to the source material when they think they can benefit it anyway, they're not actual readers of it. And that the hilarious part is that this person that I just showed, let me see if I can find that the first comment that the person sent to me. I'm trying to find it. I can't here. It's because the person was calling me a dipshit and it was basically saying that, hey, you're not a fan. Well, like, clearly you aren't either, because if you were actual supporter of this stuff, you would at least be able to buy it. Even if you didn't have that version of the comic, you can get the digital version of it or go find it from your local comic book shop, mycomicshop.com, Midtown, or whatever, if you actually wanted it and didn't have it. But I'm not now, granted, I have thousands of comics, but I'm not going to pretend like I have every single one. And I'll straight up tell you if I don't have it, and I have no issues like buying a book. Like that's nothing to me. All right. Definitely as an artist, I would want these guys to benefit, but these guys don't care. And this is why their numbers don't match up, right? When you look at, like, even with the big two in comparison, like why there's no, well, I've made my argument as far as why there's no correlation between a lot of the books versus the movies and all that. And this is why they can't sell, one can't sell the other. They can't sell people on a book by showing a movie off, and, you know, unlike manga and anime where they have that great relationship and one can sell the other. That does not exist with American comic book stuff. And largely it's because of the type of demographic of weirdos that they've catered to. These people have no capital. They don't have money to spend. But if you want to, they will be enthusiastic. They'll try to ratio people. They'll make stand accounts, but that doesn't equal money in your pocket because they don't buy the product. Their information that they get is going to be, and I made this case. You've heard me make this case specifically. Like the best, these supposed super fans, at best, there's three things that they're going to do that they will present themselves as experts in material that I will flat out tell you. You've heard people ask me, hey, what do you like? Do you remember this about this character? And I'll flat out tell you no if I don't. Despite me having all these books, I don't know everything about everything. And I'm okay with that. But with a lot of these people, they have to pretend to be. And it's funny because they'll call other people pretenders. They'll say you're a tourist and all this stuff when really it's a projection. There's three things that these guys are the types and what it is that they do. Number one, pirate. Pirate information at best, and that's like more of a selective thing as well. It's not even like to get caught up on something. It's more like, okay, I want to be able to be in the know of what's going on, so instead of buying the material, I'm going to pirate. So they pirate, torrent, stuff like that. Worst demographic to cater to because they've told you that they are willing to jack your art for free. right? Straight up. So they're not actually fans. They're not actually customers. They're just, the tourists, if anything else. So that's one thing. Next, something like Fandy Wiki kind of page or something like that. The front page, that'll get all the information it is that they need. Those Phantom Wiki pit pages that exist that will be on certain characters, certain companies, yada, yada. They'll make those. I'm not saying those aren't useful. I'm just saying that this is the only place these guys are going to get that information. Number 3, they may be a Watch Comics Explain YouTube video or something like that. And this is the beautiful thing about like some of the comic book material obviously is not put on the front page of a wiki or even the 3rd, 4th, 5th page. Some of this stuff you just have to kind of read to know it. And you could tell almost immediately if this person has ever read it. Look, man, my advice to those weirdos, stop fronting. To you, stop fronting. To the people who like myself are in the comic book industry, that's your lesson right there. So if you want to go get that demographic, okay, go chase your headlines, right? You may get people like, oh yes, this is awesome, progressive, this is great. CBR probably do an article on you, and then you'll go look at your sales for the end of that month, and you will see that they don't amount to jack diddly, and you probably operating in the red like many people in comic books are. So you can go chase that audience of fakers that are going to be fake fans and customers of stuff. And really it's just, well, this stuff is starting to be in because of the more normie digestive, or let's say like the normie mediums or the digestive mediums that these guys like to kind of be in. Animations, movies. Right, those are being created in mass these days based on comic book material. So in order to pretend to be in the know of stuff, they know it's based off comic book stuff. So as a way of backtracking, they may or pirate, and they may like watch a video or something like that, but they're not actually knowledgeable on that stuff. So if you go chase them, understand what it is you're chasing. You're chasing people who have FOMO, and not like in a sense that it's they want to get in on the conversation as in being customers. Those are the awesome people, right? We've had that with the rip-averse. Word of mouth has been our biggest. If there is to be a market, that's where it's at. We're a marketing plan, word of mouth. So people will go get the book because they see everybody else is talking about it, so they want to get in and actually purchase the bad boy. That's a good thing, but that's not the type of demographic it is that we're talking about with those weirdos. Those are guys like, hey, I just want to be a part of the conversation and pretend like I know some stuff, so I'll just pirate it. And they'll justify it too. Which is like, all right, just understand, if you are chasing, definitely those leftists, bro. I mean, say what you will, these cat food eating weirdos, they ain't got capital like that anyway. Legitimately weird. They're like very young in some cases, like, they ain't got no money, they ain't even got capital to be spending on books, let alone yours. So why chase these weirdos in their like approval? What, so they can like retweet you? You can't eat retweets. You can't. I'm just telling you. Wherever you're viewing the content, I appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, you may be interested in my comic book company, Rip-Averse Comics. Our first book and campaign, ISOM #1, brought in $3.7 million with tens of thousands of satisfied customers. Visit rip-averse.com to check out our store and stay up to date with the latest campaigns from one of the hottest new comic book companies. Also, my first big step towards a parallel economy was the development of my personal website, ericdjuly.com. This entirely replaced my Patreon. Now, if you enjoy this content, please consider becoming a member over at the website. We have an ever-expanding list of perks for various membership tiers, a forum, and a phone app. Some of these perks will even benefit you if you're fans of the Rip-Averse. Anyway, I appreciate you so much for being a supporter and or customer. I even got a little love for my haters.